Hi guys, I'm right here with thoughts on this Pro Box TV card tonight. Mr. Martinez with a really great win over Immanuwel Aleem. And, it was such a pro Martinez crowd that it was tough to tell really when Aleem was having good moments because the crowd was so loud whenever Martinez would land to really throw anything big. So, I was watching this fight very closely for moments where a big pop from the crowd might sway the judges. But I gave him round 5, round 10, round 11, and that's it. So I had the fight 9-3. I had the final scorecard 117 to 111 for Lester Martinez, who is now the interim WBC super middleweight champion. And of course, people already talking about a Canelo fight. The problem with any prospective Canelo opponent at this point is that Canelo is so late in his career that I just don't know how many total fights there are left at this point for Canelo. And the truth is, I think it's a little early in Lester Martinez's career for Canelo as well. I think Lester Martinez needs to work a little bit on his defensive skill set. I think this was a beneficial matchup for Lester Martinez. I think he was always going to be able to outpunch Immanuwel Aleem. And Lester Martinez really did stick behind the jab. Both these guys were filling empty spaces with the jab, and I could definitely see how if you were an Aleem fan, you could make a scorecard here that's more friendly towards Aleem. You could maybe have like a draw for Aleem, or Aleem losing by a round or two, I guess, because Aleem did stick behind the jab. He did produce some combinations off that jab. He managed to take some really big shots from Lester Martinez and offer back immediate offense, but it just felt like in any kind of extended back and forth exchange, Martinez would win and land the better shots in those exchanges, and that the shots that were doing the damage in the fight were by and large done by Lester Martinez. And it really importantly seemed like Lester Martinez had a safe way to bank rounds with that jab, pushing Aleem back and comboing off that jab, where Aleem didn't really have a safe way to bank rounds. Even if late in the fight he got a couple rounds by taking advantage of a situation where the fighters, had worn out their stamina. Later in the fight, both fighters were clearly more drained and the fight became more of an inside war, and that actually benefited Aleem more, which went against my expectations. I expected that Aleem would do better in this fight. At the times where he could stick and move on the outside, I thought that was going to be Aleem's best chance, that he could actually offer some surprises to Martinez on the outside despite having the shorter reach Aleem, because he does have a good jab. He does have a good outside game. He is a tricky fighter. But Martinez, unfortunately for Aleem, was very able to find a home for the jab the entire fight. And it kept Aleem from moving forward until the late rounds, and it kept Aleem from finding a home for any offense until the late rounds. And the honest truth is, Martinez hasn't really had his chin cracked by a real proper puncher like, say, for example, a Canelo yet, to where somebody like Aleem, who doesn't really seem to have that level of power, could really crack his chin. Aleem is not a bad puncher. He's not a bad boxer. But Martinez is very big and very strong and very long-armed. Aleem just doesn't offer power back that Martinez can bring back the other way. It's inherently not a very good matchup for Aleem, and Aleem was going to have to keep the fight at his tempo, or he would have had to rely on Martinez to wear out sooner and allow that inside fight to be engaged in sooner. But the honest truth is, I think that even in those inside exchanges, Martinez landed a little better. I think that people were trying to compensate for that crowd noise a little bit, especially people with a rooting interest in Aleem were keeping a little bit too much of an eye out for that crowd noise. Because, yeah, the crowd would get pretty loud whenever Martinez would land in an exchange. But the truth is, in most exchanges, Martinez was the one doing the landing. And I think that it's pretty hard, honestly, for me, watching this fight back, to find any kind of rounds for Aleem, any kind of really... well, other than those 2 rounds that he won near the end of the fight, like I said. And it shows that Aleem had to rely on a tired Martinez in order to win rounds, that Martinez did outbox Aleem, regardless of what some people might have thought. This fight was not a robbery. 120 to 108, definitely. I think that it's the kind of fight where, as you watch it and as you score it, you sort of notice that you're going to have to try to find rounds for Aleem in there, to be honest with you. Mainly because Martinez is so solidly winning the jab battle, and Aleem, even when he's moving forward, he's clearly getting outlanded in the exchanges. But 120 to 108 is unfair, because Aleem really did some tremendous work and landed some really hard shots there, especially in the 10th and 11th rounds. I think you could safely give both those rounds to him. The 7th round was also close. Aleem landed plenty in that 7th round and did plenty of effective work with the jab in the 7th round. But like Paulie said in the broadcast, Aleem really jabs best when moving laterally. He doesn't so much have that back foot or front moving jab. If he had a front moving jab, this fight would have been even closer if he really utilized. He did have a front moving jab, but he didn't utilize it in the same way that Lester Martinez did, and that made a really big difference to the final result of this fight. So I look forward to the future for Lester Martinez, but I'm glad that, like I said in my last video, we may be sort of heading towards the end of this super fight era here. And I don't expect that we're going to see too much more from Canelo, which means that Lester Martinez is going to be able to fight, opponents that are more on his level, hopefully more in the future in the level of closer to Christian and Billy than Immanuwel Aleem. But this wasn't a bad fight. This wasn't a bad opponent. Aleem definitely didn't give a bad account of himself coming into hostile territory. But he was, in here against a fighter that was really a style matchup nightmare for him. And I expect to see him back in there against the same level of fighter that Aleem traditionally fights in his career. He had a big opportunity tonight to boost his stock, but it was ultimately the wrong opponent. So many people tuned in for the stream tonight. Really great following on the stream tonight. I think over 5K, over 6K people, which I can hardly believe that I'm saying. Unfortunately, the stream got taken down for copyright, so I don't know if in the future we're going to be doing any streams where the video features so prevalently, but definitely stay subscribed for more ProBox TV content in the future. I'll definitely be doing react streams in the future like I did today. I'll definitely be doing reaction videos to the fights like I'm doing right now. I love doing preview videos. I love doing review videos to these fights. I love doing live streams to these fights. So yeah, stay tuned for all the combat sports content in the future on NPC Fights, and I will be back very soon with more. Like and subscribe. Peace out, you guys.